Welcome and good evening, my queens, and welcome to the Raw Room, where we have real and amazing conversations with each other. It is the room that you are allowed to get key results and go to war with yourself. This evening, I have my girl Kay Will, who will bring forth a good topic of discussion among women breaking barriers among married and single mothers. I welcome to the stage Kay Will.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you ready to talk about breaking barriers amongst professional single and married mothers?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Before we get started, I would like you to personally use this platform to introduce yourself as well as your service before we get in the midst of the topic.
Okay. My name is Kiasha Hill, also known as K Will. I am a two-time author of the books 30 Days of Different Ways to Love Me and Me Time, which is a 12-week planner. Self-care planner, that is. I am also a transformational life coach, and the name of my company is Second Chance Life Coaching. And I am a self-care enthusiast. So as my fellow queen knows, this is a topic I never need to rehearse
There,
because I love us.
there you go. There you go. We never need to rehearse this topic because it's basically innately in us.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, married versus single moms.
Uh-huh.
Who has the better deal? And let's tell our status. I'm
Mhm.
married.
And I'm single.
So this is going to be an interesting perspective and dynamic. So
Yeah.
married versus single mom, who has the better deal?
And I thought very long and hard on this. And people would say to me, this is just like the scenario where people talk about women who've had cesarean versus natural childbirth. Because it's the same kind of, to me, dichotomy with regard to it is the same level of, it's the same exact thing, just people's experiences are different. But I think that I don't know if there's a better or worse. I'm sure there's an argument for each side because I know a lot of married women who are married, still taking care of the household, still doing the same things that single women are doing, except they have a husband. They have someone maybe helping them with the bills or, helping them with the just life goals and things like that. You also have some married moms that don't necessarily have as much help. So that's exactly why I said, I don't know if I can go better or worse. I can only tell my story and say that for a single mom trying to become an entrepreneur or, going to work every day and still having to hold it down at the household or still having to, go take your kids to 5 million different things. And there is no, let me call my husband to do the drop off or that is definitely a difficult task. So I can't minimize. I often say women with more than one child deserve some kind of reward ceremony at least once a month because God bless their ministry. I say it all the time because if I had more than one that I had to do that for and still try to build this legacy and still try to pour into my kid, I have no clue how I would do it. But my mother used to say to me all the time, people need to have exactly as many children as they can afford to give a great life to. And so I took that in my head, like, oh, the next one might not have a great life. So I'm not having any more. But like I said, I don't think that there is a being fair. This is me being fair. I know we're on the Raw show. I
There
don't
you
think
go.
that being fair, of course, from my perspective, I think that single moms have it tough. Because I'm a single mom and I see them, even if you're not a single mom, every mom knows a single mom. So yeah, of course, I think it's a lot tougher, but who are we to say what the story is of the married mom? We have no clue. So that's why this is really a good conversation, because you can tell us, hey, is your struggle as hard as our struggle? Is it difficult for you to, grab the bull by its horns and attack life as difficult for you? So this is why this is a dope conversation.
I think it depends. I think both. You're right. You can't really say who has the better deal because
Right.
it all depends on that person's life.
Yep.
I do
Yes.
not think just because a woman is married, she has a better deal. Because at the end of the day, the woman has to deal with a man, regardless if they're married or not married.
And that in itself is a task. But go
And
ahead.
that, regardless if you married or not, because even with single moms and married moms, you still have hands-on dads
That's right.
and hand-off dads.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
only difference is a piece of paper. And if
Mhm.
you're a Christian background or religious background, you did a covenant
Mhm.
in front of family, friends, and God or whoever you worship.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
technically to me, the only difference between single and versus mom, because single moms, you're living with that extra person.
That's right.
I'm sorry, married moms, you're living with that extra person.
Right.
Single moms, if you're not living with them, but you're kind of not living with them. You still
Right.
have to be mom,
Right.
still have to take care of her, especially if you are a hands-on mom.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. You get tired. There's some men out there that don't, and they can be married, that don't change diapers, that
Mhm.
don't do certain things. Then you have men that do it. It really doesn't matter if you're married or not. It depends on the vessel you're dealing with as a male.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
what that's what I think it is. I think single moms look and like, oh, yes, you're right. We do live in a house together. The
Mhm.
bills are being paid, but then that's another struggle. In marriages, you have so many different debates and merging personalities together.
Mhm.
Then you
Mhm.
have one child in the house or two children in the house looking at different personalities, different dynamics
Mhm.
versus a single mom where you just have one personality that's shaping it. So it's so
Mhm.
many dynamics
Absolutely.
to that. And being a
Mhm.
professional mom,
Mhm.
trying to build your legacy and
Yep.
trying to establish that self-worth that you
Mhm.
have in yourself that your children may see. So I think we
Mhm.
both have the same struggles.
Absolutely.
I believe,
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't think anybody has a better deal because there's some days I know a lot of married women that feel like they're single.
Oh, I hear it all the time. And
Yeah,
that's exactly, I think that's exactly what um, makes me so objective. Even though I'm a single mom, I definitely hear it all the time. And here's the thing, all single moms aren't single either. So you have people who are not necessarily married and in relationships, and they may have help or may not have help, even though they seem like they have help. So it's the kind of the same thing. Like you said, it's just based off of who decided to go into the covenant and who didn't. But I would wholeheartedly agree with, I know a ton of women who are married and definitely still feel single or still have to sacrifice so much of themselves for their household that there is no room to be able to do them or to do anything extra because they are the woman of the house.
now
So,
as a single mom and a professional, how do you handle the emotional support?
well, let me say this. I said this at my book launch. Your support system is everything. And so I don't necessarily have a huge amount of support, but the support that I do have is so invaluable and right on time that I can't minimize. But I can truly say, because I don't have a huge amount of support, I can truly say it's definitely it makes it harder and tougher. It makes it take much longer for you to get to, whatever point you want to get to career wise. Everything takes a little bit longer. Now
Well,
it's not
tell me what does that look like when you say career wise, emotionally, from that?
so
What does that look like professionally in your career?
right. Okay. So career wise, let's say you have a bachelor's and you want to receive a master's. If you have children, that's going to require the emotional support from someone or some people. You need to be able to hear people say, hey, drop the babies off. I got it. Go ahead and go to class. Or, hey, that's physical support as well, but it's also emotional support. I'll take care of it. I know a lot of moms who had to wait, you know, to get that promotion because they would work extra hours or to pursue their PhD or their doctorate until their children got older when they can kind of, you know, uh, comfort themselves and do what they needed to do for themselves. So that's what I mean by it takes a little longer because if in fact it's a married mom or a mom in a relationship and she has the emotional support of her husband, her boyfriend, her family, when you decide to jump and take chances on your career, when you decide to be an entrepreneur or decide to go for that promotion and you say it out loud, you have a team rallying you behind you if they're emotionally supportive. They're saying, "Hey, go ahead. I'll have it." And I mean, I've seen a ton of marriages like this where one person will work full time just in order for them to support the dreams of the other spouse. So I've seen it. That to me is what the ultimate example of sacrificing in order to be emotionally supportive. And so that's what I mean.
And
Go ahead.
that's a very good example. Being an entrepreneur and being a mommypreneur is very challenging. And
Absolutely.
I talk about in one of my webinars building your support system and what
Hmm.
that looks like. It
Hmm.
took me really now 3 years to really understand and dissect who is Chastity's true support system, who is my
Yes.
core. I
Hmm.
know those people. I know how they operate. They know how I operate. They understand my flow. They understand my work process. We
Hmm.
respect and respect each other's time. They understand my vision, my
Hmm.
goal, where I'm going as a woman. They understand where I'm going in corporate America.
Hmm.
They understand and they support. That's the key word.
Absolutely.
Understand and support, not
Hmm.
fake support, true
Absolutely.
support where I'm trying to go with my business as
Hmm.
well as who I want to be as a mother.
Right.
And it took me until now. I mean, I had to figure out, I had to test the waters and things of that nature. Who is going to be my support system at the
That's
end of
right.
the day? And your support system is not always your husband.
No,
So
and it's not, wait a minute. I have to say that I am learning that total strangers sometimes become your support system
come through.
because I'm telling you, because it seems like they see what they see in you, they're not intimidated by it. It's intellect over emotion. And so sometimes total strangers will see your light and just want to be a part of it. And so they're extremely supportive, whereas you got people who sometimes love you, but at the same time don't necessarily or can't get what you're getting, or they see something in you that you haven't even seen yet and it's intimidating, whatever the case may be. But I guarantee you, as you start to progress and start to grow, you will experience growing pains and people start to fall off like leaves. And that's the part where I always tell people you have to find your tribe because you're absolutely right. It may not be your husband or what, and if it's not your husband and your family, um, it is somebody. Like there will be people, especially once you start to walk in your purpose, there will be people who will literally seem like they knocked on your door or they, um, like they saw you coming. And so there will be people who do that because I've had that experience as well. where I've met people and they're like, you are dope, let's do something.
Right.
That's kind of how me and you started. You know what I mean? And the sky's the limit when you meet people like that, because they see you. And so you have to find your tribe, be it your husband, your family, or whoever it is that God has for you. You have to definitely find your tribe.
I'm going to read something. Married moms don't look down on their unmarried counterparts, contrary to what a select few would have us to believe. 77% of the wedded women disagree with the statement that single mothers are less than responsible. A huge 87% of them said it would be much harder to be unmarried mom, and often express sympathy and support for the moms doing it alone. I commend women who do, to a circumstance, have to be single parents. Then I'm going to skip down, and it says here, children need a stable male and female influence. I believe that is true. And 23% that disapproved of unmarried women raising their child alone. Interesting, 23%. They also says, and I'm going to state this, a lot of young single mothers don't put their children first. Some married mom wrote in to say in this article, and basically said that single mothers give preferential treatment on the job. At work, I feel strongly discriminated against by the single moms, as if my problems are fluff and not real because I'm married and I have a support system. And I'll say this, a so-called support system. And so reading that, we're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to come back and talk about that.
Yes, ma'am.
That statement. Welcome back to the Raw Hidden Process Breaking Barriers, episode 3. We were, before the commercial break, we were talking some statistics
Mm-hmm.
about unmarried women.
I
And
definitely wanted to
basically,
dive into that.
that the statistics, but I'm also going to say this on top of that, and I'm going to let you have the floor with it. It also states in this article that more than half, 57% of women with female partners also wish they were married. Now that is going into parents that are same sex.
Mm-hmm.
That is also an interesting twist to it.
Yeah, that's definitely okay. So I'm gonna tackle it as you mentioned it.
Okay.
So before we went on commercial break, you said that there's a large percentage of women who married women who definitely don't believe that it's easier for a single mom, and that a lot of them you know don't know how a single mom does it. And I hear that actually from women. My sister says that to me all the time. She's married. And she says all the time, I have no idea how you do it. Um, so I definitely agree that there are a lot of women who have the support. And but let me say this. I have to say it while it's in my mind. A lot of times you do what you have to do, and so on the outside looking in, if you're a married woman and you have, because it's two parts, you could be married and not have support. So if you're a married woman and really do have a great support system,
To
you
pull
get
up.
right, you get acclimated to having that support system. It's almost like a schedule. And so once you have that set schedule and you're acclimated to having that kind of help, and if something happens, God forbid, you guys get divorced, or something happens and you're no longer together, um, I guarantee you will adjust. And so it's not like, I don't know how you could do it. I mean, yes, it takes strength. It takes, all of those things that black woman magic, black girl magic, it takes that, but we all have it. You know what I mean? Because a husband is not um or a ring or anything, or a boyfriend or anything like that, does not have anything to do with you as a woman and how you know how to provide and hold it down and get things accomplished.
I'll say,
um
I'll say this as a married person from a work standpoint.
mhm,
I get the lady comment in the article or saying that she feels discriminated because people at her job thinks or favors the woman or women that are single versus
mhm,
her
mhm,
because she's married, and they think her problems are just fluff and not real. And I think a lot of people have that vision of a married woman. And
mhm.
truth be told, their married women issues are real,
Oh
are
yes.
are
Yeah.
not fluff. And the struggle
Yeah.
is real being a professional working
Mhm,
mother, wife,
mhm.
and
Absolutely.
trying to also keep who you are as a person.
Yes, ma'am.
Because most women that are in corporate America or an entrepreneur or both, and they have a child or children and they're married, they tend to forget self love and
Mhm,
self care. And
mhm,
I'm not saying a single woman wouldn't, because
mhm,
it's different, but when you're married, you have so many others outside of you and that child that you have to
mhm,
deal with. You still have
mhm,
to deal with your family. You
mhm,
still have to deal with your in laws. You
mhm,
still have to deal with his friends dynamics,
mhm,
and people don't really think about that. There's so many variables and dynamics that a woman, unless, I think this, you two type of women that are married with kids, either you a good woman or you're a bad woman. It ain't no
mhm,
in between when you're married.
mhm,
That's just my personal opinion. Either you You hold your house down and you the fragrance of your house, or you're not. That's just
That's
my personal opinion. We can debate that at a later date. But
mm-hmm.
married women, we struggle with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough time in the day. You have to plan things. You have to have a support system. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a support system and you don't have a husband that is supporting your dreams, that's tiring on you. We end up, every woman gain weight, but
Mm-hmm.
lose weight, gain weight, emotional stress. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you are trying to do the desires of your heart and build a legacy and you're married,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to get shaded over
Mm-hmm.
because perception believes that since she's married, she don't need nothing. She don't
Mm-hmm.
need help. She don't
Mm-hmm.
need support. And there's a lot of married women that are in a depressed state because
Absolutely.
of that stigma.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Here's the thing. Let me go back to that because I totally agree. Well, I don't know about the preferential treatment because I've been a single mom for a while now. I don't necessarily know about the preferential treatment at the workplace because my bosses never cared one way or another. It was just get this job done. And yes, you had your sick days, but they didn't really care about your personal business. And I know a lot of corporate offices do. Um, I have heard preferential treatment as far as anything having to do with your children or, things of that nature. So if you're a woman and you have children, I think, we definitely, women, married or single, we definitely have a little more leeway than our male counterparts in that way. Um, but I will say I'm sure it exists because who are we to tell her what she perceived? You know what I mean? I'm sure it exists, and it definitely is not fair because the reality is you don't know how much support she has or doesn't have. Um, it's a wedding ring. It may seem like she has it all together, but she may not. So that's definitely not fair. And I can definitely agree with seeing my married friends or people that I know that are married, seeing them having to essentially pull the rabbit out of the hat daily and create this life for everyone else. And you're right, oftentimes, and it's not just married women, I do want to say that, but oftentimes women in general, we totally, because we have so many balls that we're juggling, so many things that are going on all at once, we're responsible for so many people's emotional stability. But because of that, we do often minimize our self-care if we do it at all. So I totally agree with that as well. And it's a thing, like, and I think that's why this discussion is important because I feel like as women, that's why we're supposed to adjust each other's crowns instead of
Mm.
assuming how our sister is doing, assuming that because she seems like she has it together, because she seems like, she has this title, she's a wife, that she's fine. And, more often than not, I talk to them all the time. And more often than not, that is definitely not the case. And we also have to be careful who we envy because you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And a lot of times, the reason why you see a smile on some single moms' faces is because they're single and because they don't have to deal with what a lot of married women deal with daily, in addition to children and jobs and careers or entrepreneurship. And so, that's why I don't necessarily believe it's funny to me, in general, society will kind of pit married women versus single women against each other via the article you read, or I've heard this conversation a numerous amount of times. And we all just need to do what me and you are doing and sit and talk. Because if you talk to each other, you'll realize you all have way more in common than
Come
you.
true.
Yeah, you have way more in common than you even realize. Because at the end of the day, that's why I said earlier, we have to adjust to whatever because you may not have as much support as you think you'll have I hear women all the time, oh, I wish I was married. Let's also go back to, you were talking about the same sex relationships. I know people who are in lesbian relationships, and I think that as far as their sexual orientation matter, that's their business. But I will say this: support is support is support is support. We all feel the same way. At the end of the day, we all have the same issues. We're all trying to raise our children, all trying to make them the best version of themselves, while trying to still become the best versions of ourselves. And I think that oftentimes we, people in general, gay, straight, we look at the word marriage and we always believe um, that marriage is like a magical potion. And it's
Yeah,
not necessarily, it's not that.
it's
It's
not
not.
there. And I want to tell people that I'm reading out of an article in today's magazine. So another thing they're saying, married or not, having a partner to parent with isn't all wine and roses. We found
Mhm.
several occurring themes regarding of who responded. Marriage can be hard work. Many women
Absolutely.
viewed their husband as another child to care for,
Wow.
and we
Hmm.
all prefer to be the primary decision maker. In fact,
Hmm.
some married moms appear to harbor a secret desire to be single themselves. 22% agree that it might sometimes be easier to be unmarried, though only 5% actually wish they were not married. There are days,
Wow.
this lady said, there are days when I wish I was a single parent. My partner is a great father, a good husband, but he can sometimes be just as helpless as a 1 year old. And
Hmm.
I do agree with that statement. I do
Hmm.
agree with that statement 100%.
Hmm. Yes,
And
ma'am.
many women that I know are married and we talk, that's a struggle that we have.
Hmm.
Because sometimes we feel like, well, I'm doing everything else. And in his mind, in a man's mind, they might think that they're doing something. So you can't take
Absolutely.
that away. But I realize a mom is always going to do extra than a dad.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
It goes back
Yes,
to
ma'am.
what type of mom are you? Are you hands-on mom or you're a hands-off
Hmm.
mom? If you're a hands-on mom, you gonna do more, and it also has to deal with what I don't have a son.
Hmm.
I have a daughter, so I can't really say what I would do if I had a son because I don't have a son.
Well, I can tell you what I do.
Well, I have a daughter, and there's nothing that I won't
Hmm.
do for my child. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. I have no problem telling anybody she's the only child. She's the only child. She is
Hmm.
spoiled, but she's
Hmm.
not rotten, and she's going
Hmm.
to be respectful, and she can
Hmm.
get anything from me
Hmm.
reasonable if
Hmm.
she does good and stay, respectful and things. And I'm training her to be that. And I'm
Hmm.
realizing as she sees me every day because she's 3. She sees
Hmm.
mommy working. She
Hmm.
sees me as a role model.
Hmm.
And that is very just phenomenal to me. Just to
Hmm.
see this little person just looks up to you and
Hmm.
you are their superhero.
That's
You
right.
are the be all to be all. But
That's right.
I make sure that I'm that example. But I
Hmm.
also make sure, even if I disagree with her father and some things he might say or do, I try not to. I
Hmm.
try not to demonstrate that in front of her
Hmm.
because sometimes men can act like a child. And then
Hmm.
I also, in the back of my mind, I was talking to another friend that was married, and her husband let me get this right. Her husband felt like she was giving the child more attention than him.
I knew
But
you
this
would say
girl,
that.
huh?
I said I knew you would say that. I've heard that before, but go ahead.
Yeah, my husband hasn't said that. But this girl can't do nothing up on her own. She's
Right.
two, she's three,
Right.
she's four. She's just
Yeah.
trying to learn life. So
Yeah.
you have to be a little bit hands-on. So I
Hmm.
scratch my head sometimes, like, why would a man say that? Like, are you that self-centered?
Well, let me intervene real quick. First of all, everything that you said, I like to kind of go back. As far as spoiling your daughter, my mother used to say that all the time. God rest her soul. She used to say, um, our babies need to be spoiled. Our black and brown babies need to know what it feels like. And she was exactly that way to us. And for the people who know me, I have one son. I have one child as well, and he's almost 16. He'll be 16 in July 15th. And he's rotten. He's spoiled. And he does act like the typical. But I will say this also. I'm extremely tough on him because he's a boy. And so he opens doors. I haven't pumped gas since my son was 4. There are certain traits that I'm trying to put in him because I always lead with this statement. One day you'll be someone's husband and someone's father. And so I had an automatic starter on my car, and I would wake my son up every morning to go and start my car. And one day he was telling his teacher, he was sleepy at school, and he told his teacher, and his teacher said, well, that's not your job. And when he came home, I said, let me talk to your teacher. And I explained to her, number one, you don't tell me what his job is. And also, I am raising a gentleman. And in this day and age, there are a lot of young men. I wanted to speak on this because you have a daughter and you were saying, you don't know how people, act or whatever. In this day and age, there are not a lot of young men, because to me, that starts at home. You can't expect, like, so all of this is going to come full circle. You can't expect your husband to know how to do all of these things because life doesn't necessarily teach him how to innately be a gentleman, how to innately know how to provide financial support and emotional support. Life
Wait,
usually
and
teaches.
I'm gonna say this because I want you to continue. They are taught financial support, but
Absolutely.
somewhere it lacks the emotional support
Absolutely.
that they need when they get married.
And
Now,
that's
I don't have a son. I believe mothers instill emotional support that they need for them, their son
mhm,
for them, but they don't
mhm,
teach them the emotional support that they would need to be for a woman that they want to be married to. And
absolutely.
that's the lacking.
Absolutely. And I think that I was gonna say that because there are so many women who are married or in relationships, and they're practically begging, people say, I've heard this quote so many times, don't marry for um what you think they will be, or potential. Don't marry for potential. And I think that that's how so many of us end up in marriages or relationships because we see what he could be. And so our goal is we think we can change him and metamorphosize him and he'll become this thing. Well, if I love him this way, he'll become this thing. And that's why I told my story about how I'm trying to groom my son. Now, when he made a statement to me, he said, Mom, you're raising me to be a gentleman in a world where a lot of women aren't raising their daughters to be ladies.
That is true. And I'm gonna
And
say this. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna intervene. I'm gonna say this. I will tell a man in the next 2 minutes, I am not your mother.
that's right.
Your mother should have taught you X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Your mother
Yes.
tells you what to do. I am
Mm-hmm.
your wife, and I
Mm-hmm.
truly understand what my duties as your wife's supposed to do.
Well,
My
that in itself makes
yeah,
you extraordinary because a lot of women are married and don't know how to be wives.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different topic. But that's a good
Well, it
point
is.
that you just made, though. A lot of men feel like that. And then I also say this: I'm quick to see. Here's the thing: I'm extremely objective, because I'm a listener. And if you listen to a lot of men speak, um, you know, though that they don't necessarily always have you emotionally, because like you said, they're raised, do not cry, do not this, do not that. So a lot of them suppress their emotions. So when it comes time for them to get in a relationship, they know how to aesthetically lead, but when it comes to anything you need emotionally, they lack, because they don't have that thing in them. They didn't develop that thing. But another thing that I think needs to be mentioned is a lot of women, like you said, if you know, I'm old school. My parents didn't have me until they were 40. So I'm old school in everything that I do. And so if you're a woman who's old school, or who typically understands the concept of what a wife's duties are, you really wholeheartedly, you want to be with your partner, because the ultimate goal for a woman who really aspires to be a wife is to be led, for him to be led by God, and then she be led by him, and the household is solid. So that's the ultimate goal. But a lot of men aren't. And I don't necessarily want to only blame their mom, because another thing I want to say to what you said, like, I'm not your mom. It's not only their moms that have given them that unrealistic depiction. It is years of dating women who have provided for them. I know a lot of women who feel like they need to wear what they are worth on their forehead. So we're constantly trying to do anything that we can to get this husband, to get that ring. And a lot of times it's to our demise, because you essentially bought and paid for this young man, or you did whatever you had to do to quote unquote get him, but you didn't necessarily get the full package, because he's been taken care of his whole life, and he's going to get with you and continue to feel like he needs to be taken care of. So a lot of women are marrying grown boys, which is why they feel like they're alone. They're marrying boyfriends and not husbands. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's a whole different topic too. But I wanted to.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. That's a whole
Yep.
different topic. So, you know, with all that we have said in these 43 minutes, what I have come out with this discussion
Mm-hmm.
is that women, married or single, we all have the struggles.
Yes, ma'am.
And just because somebody is single doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean they are free and they're just having
A blast.
a blast of time.
Right.
And it does not mean when if you're single and you're looking at married people, they just have this rock.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it could be, but there are some battles. And I think if we come together and break
Mm-hmm.
down those barriers and
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other and not look at the status quo of what's going on and see how can I heal you as a woman. You're going
Yes.
through the same struggles.
Yes, ma'am.
The only thing is a jury on the finger. And
That's
at
right.
the end of the day, professionally, if we are going towards the same goal to be an entrepreneur, to be successful, to have a legacy in our family, we
Mm-hmm.
have to support each other.
Yes, that's right.
And the support system is the queendom that I
Yes.
talk about. Is building that queendomship and
Mm-hmm.
helping each other out. And I might not can help you financially, but I might can help you emotionally. I
That's
might
right.
can just send some love signals and channels through and say
Mm-hmm.
you can do it. I might can help you by connecting and networking a person, another angle for you. I said, but
Mm-hmm.
single and married women, there shouldn't be a sense of I feel discriminated or I
Mm-hmm.
feel that because I'm married, people don't think my issues are real and authentic. I think
Right.
if you're a woman and you have children and you have a boyfriend or a significant other or a husband, you are going through something. And this
That's
is, I'm
right.
going to say this before we end the session, is that even with single moms, they deal with the father of their child.
That's right.
And that can be another dynamic,
That's a whole different.
especially if you're a professional single mom
Mhm.
dealing with the father of your child. It's
Yes,
different,
ma'am.
and we're talking about professional women and the
Mhm.
struggle within professional women. But
Mhm.
I just thought about that, just because somebody's married, and yes, I feel like I have a child, you might, a second child, a woman might feel like they have a second child that they have to deal with. But what about that single mother that's dealing with the father of the child?
Absolutely.
Struggle with that co-parenting.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a I'm her. I'm who you're speaking about.
yes,
Um, and it's definitely a battle, and it is definitely not all roses, and it's definitely a struggle because at the end of the day, like I told you before, I'm old school. So even when he didn't do what he was supposed to do as a mom of a son, it was just always very important to me to um, create that relationship and maintain that relationship, even if I had to be the one maintaining it,
right.
because I felt like he needed his dad. So I never spoke negatively about him. I never, how I felt was how I felt.
Right.
And I kept it to myself because at the end of the day, I
He's
knew
gonna
my son.
recognize it.
That's right. Well, yeah, and you're right. Your children eventually grow up and they see, they're going to see whatever it is that you're going through anyway. But aside from that, it was just always very important to me to make sure that he had male relationships. His coaches, just make sure that, because you're right. Even if because there's a lot of children who don't have the option of having their dads in their life. And if that's be the case, put them in a mentoring program. Just make sure you foster that relationship if you can in some way, shape, or form, because it definitely is necessary. And like I said, I'm that woman. It's a battle. It's an uphill battle having to co-parent,
Right.
and it's not always pretty. And you have a lot of married moms who still have to deal with the father of their children because their husband is not the children's father. So they have the husband at home, and then they have to battle co-parenting as well. So it's
It's
it's tough.
it's tough. And so the ultimate thing of breaking the barriers is women, regardless if you're married or single, embrace each other. Do not
That's
judge
right.
each other. Help and heal and mend each other and become a support system. A
That's right.
caring word here, an uplifting word there, hey, a marketing networking opportunity. Learn
Mm-hmm.
how to excel and build each other up.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about embracing, elevating, executing, and putting zeal in each other's life. Now we're about to end the show. Kay Will, if you can tell the viewers how they can reach out to you, give them your social media platforms, that would be great. Also,
Okay.
tell them how they can purchase your book.
Okay. My book can be purchased on my website, which is kwill 30 days to love me.com. My both books actually. My social media, I have two on Facebook. One is Kiasha Hill. The other is K Will 30 Days to Love Me. On Instagram, I am K Will 30 Days to Love Me. On LinkedIn, I am Kiasha Hill. My life coaching business is secondchancelifecoaching.com. And, feel free to reach out to me in reference to all things self care if you just need your crown adjusted, because I wholeheartedly agree with Chastity. Like, we need to definitely support each other in everything that we do, because you never know what the next queen is going through. So I wholeheartedly agree with this. Let's support each other.
Yes, and I'm all about supporting my queens in
Mm-hmm.
everything we do. I uplift you. I am
Yes, you
that
do.
sister that is going to hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Queens, you basically stay motivated, stay focused. You
Mm-hmm.
boss up, you show up, and you execute that S on your chest no matter what. You're gonna
That's right.
have some rainy days, but you keep
Mm-hmm.
your head up, my queen, and you keep pressing towards the mark. You're gonna have haters that's basically going to be in your family and out your family. You keep
Yes,
pressing
ma'am.
towards the mark and keep doing what you need to do to be the success that you need to leave a legacy for your children.
That's
At the
right.
end of the day, I wholly, heartily feel very strongly about that, and I stand on my word for that. So, I want to personally thank my Facebook family for spending your Thursday evening with me, Chastity Sanye, at the Raw Hidden Process. Please connect with me on Facebook at Chastity Sanye Raw Talk, Instagram at the Raw Hidden Process, and LinkedIn Chastity Sanye The Raw Hidden Process. Please subscribe via my website for empowerment affirmations, hot topics, and updates at www.chastitysanye.com. I look forward to our next conversation here at the Raw Room and talking about breaking barriers. Please purchase my book, The Raw Hidden Process, Forgiveness and Trust. You can purchase it on my website, www.chastitysanye.com. Also, I want to let you know that I am the CEO, president, and founder of a nonprofit organization called Seraphine in Action. We are having our first summit this Sunday, 7/11.
That's
Please
dope.
tune in. It's called She Has Everything. So please tune in to hear four amazing women speak on elevating, embracing, executing, and having some zeal in your life. Also, my Girlfriend Chronicles will be live on July 21st, 2021. The topic is empowering women through tough times. Until next time, remember you might have to be raw with yourself in order for you to ignite your passion. Keep pushing, my queens, and keep elevating up in your life. Be safe, have fun, and remember to protect yourself and mask up. Take care now.
Mhm. Bye.